Hey, I'm Guy Powell, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. If you haven't already done so, please visit ProRelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. I am the author of the newly released book, The Post-COVID Marketing Machine, Prepare Your Team to Win. And you can find out more information on this at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. So today, the big question for CMOs, entrepreneurs, and the C-suite is how will AI impact their activities through their marketing department and with their agencies? So let's see if we can help you out today. Today, we're going to share some insights on what we're calling the unstoppable rise of AI in remote work. We're going to discover how to position your business for success in the new landscape and harness the power of global talent. And that is truly the case. The internet has really globalized talent across the world. And so whether you're a small or a medium or a large business, getting AI to work effectively and to your advantage can be a huge differentiator in the market. Today, I'm interviewing Mike Greenberg, and he is with Third Brain Automation, or Third Brain, and sounds like he's got a couple of different handles there, but Third Brain Automation, and we're going to go from there. So let me tell you a little bit about Mike. He is the CEO of Third Brain, and that is a digital operations company, automation and AI expert, fueling explosive growth for $2 million to $100 million businesses. And he's a seasoned entrepreneur empowering the next generation of founders. Welcome, Mike. So good to have you.
It's great to be here. We're talking about some of my favorite topics.
Yeah, me too. I just wish I knew how to spell AI. I haven't figured that one out yet.
Well, I think you start with the A, and then you follow up with a period, and then an I, and then another period. And in practice, we remove the periods and we just make it AI. And in another 5 or 10 years, the new employees we bring on aren't even going to realize it stands for artificial intelligence.
Well, wait a minute now. So let me just put that in the chat GPT and make sure that that's right.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, exactly. So Mike, before we get started, so what is your backstory on AI and marketing?
Absolutely. So my career got started in the bridge between the business side and the tech side of really early stage startups. And so I would help with fundraising and I would help build MVPs. And that meant that I was very involved in the business strategy and the pitch and how they got to that minimum viable product and how they went and got that money. I ended up doing a little bit of growth strategy work with a podcast network. And this was, about 2015, 2013, somewhere around there. So pretty early to the podcasting game. Our biggest opportunity with marketing was transcribing the thousands of hours of content they had already recorded. But at $1 per minute, it was outside of our budget to do so. It was going to cost tens of thousands of dollars. AI came out. That cost dropped by 90% in a month. And then it continued to drop every quarter after that. And so I saw that transcript cost bottom out. I said, oh, podcasting is now the cheapest way to produce content. And I ended up building a business that did B2B podcasting for purposes that were not related to listeners. So either using the show to reach out to people and as part of a LinkedIn marketing strategy, or using it to repurpose for other content, just at a lower cost because you can interview subject matter experts for free. And I ended up building that business up and using a lot of AI tools and automations in the background to systemize our operations and lower our cost per unit of content. And then I sold the largest business unit that was white labeling podcast production to other digital agencies and spent a little time playing around with Twitter marketing and founder-led content. I spent about a year and a half working with a guy by the name of Jesse Puggi at a company called Gateway X. growing the Twitter accounts and setting up their Twitter playbook for him to grow from about 20 to about 150,000 followers, and then for his CEOs. And that ended up bringing in a few million in new business for them. And then I went out and started Third Brain.
Oh, fantastic. Wow, that's pretty cool. It's interesting. Now I can't say Alexa too loud because my Alexa will go off. But it's fascinating. It seems to me like though there's two or three technologies that are in what you talked about. There's kind of the voice recognition and then the voice to text, and to be able to do that well. And it is absolutely amazing how good that voice to text now is. And
Yeah.
then what's going on with Chat GPT and then Chat GPT 4.0
Yeah.
is just absolutely incredible to be able
And
to take
Claude
that.
3.
What's that?
Don't leave Claude 3. Claude
Yeah.
3 Opus is my day to day.
Yeah, yeah, it's just incredible. But to be able to take what is more or less a technology that says what is the next best word, and to be able to really get some incredible results out of it is just phenomenal. But before we get into that, though, so tell us about Third Brain and what you're doing there, and what and where and how you guys are making the millions and billions on that company.
So we're not to the billions yet, but I'm working on it. Um, Third Brain is a digital operations service. And the way we operate is we do embedded teams and staff augmentation for our clients. So we're not an agency that's outside. You're getting a person, and that's your person. They're inside the company. And we do digital operations. And what does that actually mean? It means we're your one-stop shop for all your AI, your automations, your integrations. Oh, you use ClickUp or Asana or Notion or Airtable, and you need somebody to build it out. We've got you covered. You want to build a bubble client management portal? We've got you covered. All of that falls under one digital operations manager that we call a draftsman. And then you get somebody like me or one of my partners who's fractional C-level to step in as that advisor alongside. So you get the person internal, and then they have all of the specialist support at the C-level and at the lower level of technical integrations. And that allows us to be that long-term digital operations partner and help our clients scale. And the way I talk about digital operations, and this falls into the actual discussion, the marketing pitch is over, is 5 C's. First, we start with clarity. Who does what, when, what are we trying to achieve? That allows us to build consistency in what we do. And that allows the team to build confidence in their ability to do these things and your ability to achieve, which then allows you to increase your capacity. Because once everyone's doing the right things, then all the automations and AI can actually work and make your team's life easier. Without a good process in place, nothing gets used. And that confidence turns into capacity. And that capacity ultimately for us as the business owners, that turns into cash flow because we're getting more done with the same team.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. And especially then when you have the kind of the fractional C-level support to go with it, to really be able to translate those activities that, day-to-day activities into what makes money and what drives the business forward. That is such a crucial element to marketing, especially. So makes a lot of sense.
It's it's been a journey, I'll say. But now we're seeing that this is a model that works for clients, and in marketing especially, it's like, oh, how many clients are not deploying their HubSpot right?
Mm.
All of them, 100%.
Count me in.
How many of them have a separate marketing and sales CRM that don't even talk to each other? Like half. How many of them have a third support customer CRM for after they become a customer that's still separate also? Oh, Again, half. And so we look and we're like, just getting everyone on one unified data, that's like level one of what we do. Like we can't even automate. You can't even use AI until you have good, clean, single point of truth data for what you're trying to do. And so it's like level 0 is everyone's working in these silos. Level 1 is we can start having things talk to each other. We get unified data and we get clarity in where our data lives, where all of our processes are. Level 2, we can start automating things. We can start putting little AI tricks in. And then level 3, we can start building majority autonomous processes. But that takes time.
Yeah, and it is definitely not hard. We've all got, we meaning marketing and sales and support, we've all got our habits and our legacy methods and what have you. And it's hard. We deal with that as well with our clients, where, as a matter of fact, we're about to kick off a project where there are 3 business units selling to 3 separate customer types.
Yeah.
And each one of those has their own implementation of Salesforce. And
It's a nightmare.
it is a nightmare. And then, Salesforce itself is a great tool, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
to get it implemented right, and now in this particular case, to get it implemented across the spectrum so that marketing can actually, spend more of its time doing its job, generating business, and leading the march, so to speak, in front of the sales team. They spend a lot of time wasting their time because of the implementations of Salesforce and how they handle all of that internal structure.
Oh yeah. I mean, believe it or not, we had a client, very low volume of sales. I want to point that out front. But they were using Salesforce as a project management system. And this is like a marketing agency, essentially. We moved them from Salesforce to ClickUp and just built a super simple little CRM mirror of HubSpot in ClickUp. HubSpot lets us scoop up all their emails for free. So that way we get email syncing back to account records. But otherwise, everything lives in ClickUp. And their whole company was running out of ClickUp instead. At the end, they cut, it was something like a 30 or 40,000 a year Salesforce bill.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And, like that software isn't going to make or break a business. But for them, they didn't realize how much easier their business could be to manage when they weren't using a totally wrong tool that was implemented in a custom way to do a job it was not designed to do.
Yeah. 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 How we are all, I hate to say it, we're all guilty of making little and big mistakes that cost big and bigger money, is I guess the way to put that. Yeah. So, all right, assuming then we get the implementation of a lot of the tools going, then so how can businesses really take best advantage of AI and drive growth?
So I think the first thing to understand is that it's not where you think. I would not put AI on the front lines.
Now, by
Start there.
AI, just to make sure, we're talking about analytic AI or generative AI or both?
In this case, I'm thinking about generative AI, large language models. I would not put them on the front lines. They're great at first drafts. They're great as, like whisper agents alongside support reps. But I would not take them to end user deployment, to the end customer. And you're going to see so much gain just by using them as information retrieval devices, specifically with chatbots. That's where you kind of want to stop for a while, because that's a use case that isn't too complex for what we have now. And is really just, I'm not even using it as a chatbot. I'm just using it as a front end to semantic search with a vector database of all of our content.
Mm,
And so that's where I would start and end, because 90% of the time when people think of AI, that's what they're talking about.
yeah,
So let's
yeah.
get that out the table.
Yeah, I like your term whisper agent. I think that that makes a lot of sense, and it can really support you know, a support person, possibly also a salesperson.
Oh
And
yeah.
be honest with you, I use it myself that way to research clients and, you know, kind of come up with a, you know, what is their target persona, their customer persona that they're going after, and be able to then say, well, if they're going after this customer, you know, what are their competition doing? And as a matter of fact, I was just playing around yesterday where I was looking at who is the target persona of Coca-Cola versus Pepsi. And it is kind of fascinating to see what comes out of it, and to use that as kind of a support for, you know, me business development, or me some kind of a, you know, another business question that comes up makes a whole lot of sense.
Ooh, that brings up one of my favorite uses of AI. Um, Market research. But market research on a pooled basis. So you set up 2 or 3 little GPT-4 agents where each one has a persona based on the background. You're nodding your head, so I'm hoping that you've
Yep.
done this yourself. You run each one of them 100 times asking the same question, and you see how they pool out, or 1,000 times to get sort of the predictive curve.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows you to be like, oh, okay, well, 90% of the time they love this thing, but 10% or 8% they hate it. Um,
Well, and
that
it's getting those exceptions as well to be able to, you know, one of the problems that I've found is, and I think one of my other interviewees, domain experts, he calls it the sameness trap, is that when you ask the, you know, Chat GPT or whatever the same question or similar questions, you end up with the sameness trap because it's only based on the same data. And
Yep.
you know, and being able to get past that and to find out that 8 or 9% that you talked about is pretty critical.
Yeah. Well, one thing, and this goes into how do we create actually useful content with AI at the same time, is you might remember back in the days of Black Hat SEO, we had spin tags that we would use to customize things. And so one thing that we use in order to add more variance to our results, one, we can always change the actual variance value, that p-value. But two, we can use what we call a Spintax agent internally, which is a little bot we have set up that you send it any data, and it's going to send you back the exact same meaning in different verbiage.
Hmm.
And so that allows you to, curve the ball, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
And
makes a lot of sense.
yeah. Um, and so that sort of randomizing agent to content is, and you can, you can personalize that or narrow that down to like 10 variances or something like that. But that is one of the key ways I've found to create high quality content and avoid that sameness problem, is you want to inject randomness into the equation. So one of our most effective content, like social content generation frameworks to date, is one of the dumbest. It's got 2 indexes. One index is templates of social like post formats that we know work. The other is snippets and quotes of good content that we have. And it just smashes those randomly together. 30% direct approval rate from a human.
Wow,
Almost every time it's between 25 and 30%.
wow, wow.
And it's totally random which numbers it's throwing together.
Yeah, yeah. That is fascinating, and that it's little things like that that can really drive the needle. That I mean, it's not a little thing. You know,
Yeah.
it reminds me of um, you know, the engineer who's brought in to figure out why the propeller is not turning on a cargo ship. And he studies it. He comes in, he studies it for about 30 minutes. He takes out his hammer and he goes bang, and the propeller starts turning. And then he sends a bill in for $30,000.
Yep.
And the guy said, "What do you mean? You only spent 30 minutes. And how could you charge me $30,000?" And he goes, "Yeah, of course. It only took me 30 years to know in 30 minutes exactly what the problem is. So it costs $30,000, for that knowledge." And it's little things like what you're talking about, which is based on an enormous amount of thinking that then it simplifies it down into something that's incredibly valuable. Yeah, thank you for that. That's very good.
Yeah, thank you. That's one of my favorite things to tell clients is you can hire for raw problem solving talent. And like studies show, the ability to solve problems doesn't really improve over somebody's career. But the number of times they've seen it, that improves. It's literally the experience that makes the difference in those of us who are in like marketing and let's call it the technical of the non-technical skill sets, where we sort of sit on that divide. That's very much what we're seeing in play. Where, raw problem solving is almost always going to win in something like who has great marketing creative. But building up a swipe file over 20 or 30 years and knowing what really worked and what everyone was talking about when you were a kid, that takes time. And
Yeah.
being able to understand how to twist that into a new content format today, that takes doing that 1,000 times.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, so let's talk about something else. Now, you talk about ClickUp and Notion and Asana,
Oh,
and
yeah.
this is getting a little bit maybe off from AI, but
I'll bring it back. Don't worry.
yeah. Well, anyway, you talk about those. So one of the challenges for a marketing team is how do they know what the right tool is? And how can they really improve the operations of your entire marketing team, using tools like this? And how do you know which one is the right tool?
Yeah. So first off, let me say that I'm a partner with ClickUp, so I am biased. Let me follow up by saying that I work with all of these systems, and Asana is very mature. If you're running like a tech team, or if you're running in Asana and your company's good, stay there. If you're running a deep tech team that needs a lot of like different sprint charts and other fine reporting for like product management, Asana is probably going to be a great fit for you. And you're going to have a lot of people internally who might already love it because they've been on it for a while. I have not seen Notion work out well for teams above like 10. Generally, I see it break down because it's not well built for project management and task management yet. They're still building out those features. The only company I know above 50 people that's run on Notion effectively is a Notion consultancy and a design agency. And so like design agency, all their works in Figma. That's where they do all their project tracking. ClickUp is a much more versatile tool. And out of the box, it can mimic any of the other tools we're talking about with little to no effort. But if you want to get the real value out of ClickUp, you have to kind of put in a bit of an investment and build it out enough that you can use it to manage a lot of your structured data and that you have it integrated into your other tools so it can work as a work management system effectively. And so I think of the tools, it probably requires a little more upfront investment, but that provides a much higher return on investment due to the additional automation. And that's just because it was built like it got started a few years after Asana. So it was just a next generation of tools. And so that's like, I think of Asana as it is a fully featured tool in its class, but it is never going to really be a great docs tool. It's never going to be like that integrated tool. because of the way it was built and it grew. And ClickUp started its task management and grew into all this other stuff. And so that made it just a little better suited for most teams and for marketing teams, especially. It started as a marketing agency project management software and grew out of that.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we're actually for us, we use Asana, but we're a tiny little company, and they've got a free version of it, so it was nice to use. But I could imagine, just to your point, that there probably is something better out there as kind of the technologies leapfrog themselves. It sounds like that's what ClickUp did.
Yeah, they're just the technology that underpins them makes them better for some of the customization and abilities that we want in our tools today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
very
we have used ClickUp as a replacement for Airtable with clients in
Mhm.
terms of building like customized databases and workflow management software. And we could not do that with Asana or Notion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And what about some of the? So there's a couple of other ones that I'm trying to remember the name of it, but anyway, so it sounds good. No, I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
well, let's go back to AI a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about ROI and where, as marketers, can we find very good sources of ROI through the implementation of AI? What do you see as the best opportunities there?
First drafts, analysis, summarization, all very big. So the way I think about like marketing for AI, marketing when it comes to using AI, there's really like 8 things you can do. And this is not just marketing. This probably applies to sales and growth as well. You can produce more content. You can send more outbound, which is really a variation of produce more content. You can respond to leads faster. Like if you're not responding to every lead within 10 or 15 minutes and it's not like customized based on their inputs, give me a call and we'll make a deal. It'll be between 5 and 20,000 depending on your size. And I'll make that, I'll get it done in a month, guaranteed. Every lead, 15 minutes or less, probably 5 minutes or less. So respond to leads faster. Number 4, qualify leads through enriching and data scraping. So either scraping data to pick out better leads or enriching the data on existing lead lists. And a sub of that, so this like 4.1, is get better quality leads for outbound. Then follow up with leads more or more reliably. Have data visibility. So unify all of your information and data, which allows you to better sell and market and cross-sell and grow accounts and all that great stuff. Then market research, both from scraping data and from the AI personas we talked about earlier. And then finally, personalizing content at scale.
Yeah.
And that's really all you can do. Like you can do analysis, but that's just a variation of market research. You can do anything, and it's a variation of one of these others.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I definitely see your point. So tell me about from a market research perspective, you talked about developing personas. What do you see there? What is kind of the best way to go off and do that?
Yeah. So let's talk about the levels again. Level 0 is like a 1-sentence prompt. It's, you are the CMO of a $35 million a year IT managed service firm targeting, middle market companies in manufacturing and production in the Midwest, because that's our perfect client. And so we want to ask that person things. That's level 0. That's not very smart. Level 1 is, we have taken some of our case studies and some of the interviews of our perfect clients, and we've merged those into like a 2-page breakdown of this is who we're talking to. And we can now use that as a chatbot to go back and forth with. And we can do the same thing with the deals we've lost, where we know like, oh, this was a real pain for us. How can we get around that? Level 2 is where it gets interesting. We're going to scrape all of the Amazon reviews of books related to this topic and all of the Reddit posts and the Twitter and the LinkedIn and the YouTube videos. And we're going to vectorize all of that and create a knowledge base of a vector database that we call the expert for this archetype, this avatar. And then we're going to hook that up to RAG, retrieval augmented generation. And we're going to use that as now we have a chatbot that has memory of all the discussions we've had and all the quotes. And now it's pulling in direct quotes related to what we're talking about. And that level 2 is when it starts to get really interesting. But level 3 is when you ask it a question and it's doing that, but it's doing that across a council of maybe your 6 key avatars. And they're all consulting in a little discussion back and forth and taking a vote to reach a consensus before they give a response to you.
Yeah.
And each one of those, right? You can build the first 2. You can get to level 2 in probably 30 or 60 days. Getting to level 3, that's a multi-quarter project.
Yeah.
In all
Yeah.
likelihood.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. And I definitely like how you're you're using that to to continually improve and add then new elements to the data sets. And then that the scraping function is really I could see that as being pretty critical overall to being able to really understand what people like and dislike, and then use that as part of the as part of the challenge.
You want to talk a little global talent?
Yeah, definitely. Let's do
Do it.
that.
Okay. So my core AI, let's call it my core like AI content team. What does that look like? I've got a guy in the Philippines. He used to be a content writer at OpenAI. So that's like creating training data, cleaning up data for training. So he understood that process. And then I hired him. He was a really smart guy. And I trained him. And past few months, he's learned all about prompt engineering. He's learned all about automation. He's learned how to build chatbots with BotPress. And now we can start deploying him to clients and doing these sort of things that we're talking about, because he knows what the data should look like. He now has the tools to build that little scraper and scrape all that information in for us. So that's person number 1. Then we need somebody to actually turn that content into like quality usable material. So my content operations person is that scraper automation AI person. He's going to work with a ghostwriter and he's going to say, okay, for this content format, let's say one of the formats that works well on my Twitter is lesson number 101 or lesson number 167 for AI. It can be like AI content workflow tip number 679. And then a little quote from me about AI content workflows. Always use a randomizer to improve the quality of your output. That can then be turned into a specific content workflow. And James can scrape from me or from competitors and shove that all in. And then the content workflow will standardize it to an output. And the ghostwriter will then tweak it and make it actually good for us to post. And so that can be like an entire process. And what you're going to see is I've got a content operations person who has all the tools. And then I've got some sort of creative who's going to be involved in like the end. And then I work with the content operations person to pick out the best content to feed into the system. And so he builds that knowledge base of me over time. And that turns into where we can smash it up against all the content formats that work. And then we deliver it to an expert in that specific type of content for that specific channel, who can take what we've created and turn it into a useful end result to publish.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, makes a lot of sense. Plus, it's then it sounds like it's it can then be very personalized to who you're going after and the targets that you're going after. And there's nothing better than highly personalized kinds of work there. So
Oh yeah. And if
excellent.
we have the Michael knowledge base of
Yeah,
all like the
yeah,
company stuff and all of the stuff we've built and talked about, and then we have a customer knowledge base of, oh, this is a perfect avatar, then I can run every piece of content we create in an AI loop past that other customer avatar and be like, hey, is this content that you might enjoy? And if they say no, we can kick it back and say, hey, no human ever needs to see this. It's not good enough.
yeah. How funny. But how true. I mean, personalization and everything is now, it used to be we talked about personalization, let's say 10 years ago, and personalization was slightly, well, very different than what it is today. Now you can have really mass personalization to really go after, different people that you're doing that are in your target set, so you can get there. Yeah, very
Well, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
thank you for
that's
that.
absolutely,
Yeah.
that's really like the core themes of AI are, we can use more data, we can use data more effectively, and we can work with fuzzier, muddier data sets. And then our capacity just increases. So everything that we used to do, we can do 10x now
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
if we put in the work.
Yeah. And
That's
yeah.
it's a capital improvement.
Yeah.
It's not like, you can't approach some of these like a systems build out. You can't approach adding AI to marketing as like a one and done initiative. It's like, oh, okay, we are going to make sure that our company is set up to take advantage of this. And then we are going to make sure that our company is identifying where we can deploy it with off the shelf technology now, because it's growing too fast for us to be building anything at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's, it's funny because we talked before we got online, about writing a book, and I've been in the process of trying to put something together for marketing and AI. And one of the biggest challenges there is, how do you get it out fast enough so that it's valuable today or when it comes out, and it's not already 6 months or a year old, because it just takes that much time to get through the whole publishing process. And so and write a book. I've been thinking about it. Could I just use Chat GPT to write the book and come up with a series of prompts and whatever? And certainly could do that, but it doesn't give you the that clone of Guy's brain or the clone of Mike's brain to be able to get that really critical knowledge that people are really willing to pay to learn that.
Yeah. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. For creative writing, I'm never going to use Chat GPT right now. It's Claude all the way. And Claude 3 is definitely my co-writer. It's my writing assistant.
Okay.
But I'm the one who has to put all the information. I use Perplexity as my research assistant.
Uh-huh.
And so Perplexity and I are going to pull up material, and I'm going to read through all that material, or I'm going to have Claude summarize it, and then I'm going to dig in further. And that's going to allow me to put all the pieces together. And then I can, if I put all the pieces together and I kind of link it together how I want, then Claude can give me a really bad first draft that I can then go over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I've been working through it so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, I haven't tried Claude yet. I will definitely do that. I wrote it down here, so I'm going to start. I'll take your advice on that one. So appreciate that. So, how do you see the AI helping companies as they at different stages in the customer journey. How have you seen, some advantages there?
Yeah. So early on for us, it means every meeting is recorded, every meeting has meeting notes, and we have better onboarding documentation and background going in about the clients that we work with. So that like handoff from marketing to sales to client delivery is all easier because we have a better track record and we have better customer data.
Hmm.
And we have like meeting notes for every meeting. So huge, cannot be underestimated. Always be recording all your meetings with customers. So helpful. Obviously already brought up, going to bring it up again. We respond to the customers faster.
Yeah.
And then this isn't really a result of AI, but this is necessary for AI to be used best. We have to unify our data. So if you have a bunch of disparate contact management systems, it makes it much harder for you to use AI across them. And so you've got those handoff checkpoints that you have to use instead, which is not as great, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. But it helps force some data visibility. And it allows you to better understand like what your clients are going through, because you can sort of see I can load up 5 transcripts of the past quarter of calls with a client into Claude and say, hey, Claude, looking over these, something seems off with this client. What's the trend here? And then it's like, oh, she mentioned that she was extra stressed because of this thing, this other project running behind from 3 calls back. And that's probably what caused it here. But then over here, she was okay because of this other thing. And so it can do that analysis for me and improve our client management and also help us identify where to upsell or when to send them a promo. So it allows us to maintain the client better and nurture them better because we can have a better understanding of who they are as a result of analyzing and summarizing the signals that they're giving us more effectively.
Yeah. 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 Well, I like your point about, having very deep knowledge through all of your interactions with the client and being able to summarize all of those and then use that as a way to, really understand what's going on.
Thank you.
I, as much as I'd like to keep going, I
I'd
could
go
probably,
forever on this topic.
I can see that. And maybe we'll have to do this as a phase 2 and come back in 6 months and see, what's changed. I'm sure there'll be a ton.
We didn't even get into real examples today. We did talk about real examples. Everything I brought up today, we've implemented for clients, but I didn't get to brag about how much it made them. We can do that next time.
Yeah, let's do that next time. But I do have one final question for you, and that is, what advice would you give an up and coming new marketer, somebody just coming out of college, just getting into marketing, getting into the workforce? What advice would you give that person?
So I'm going to give them, I think, 3 pieces of advice. Number 1 is create more content. So like become a creator. You are not going to succeed in marketing if you're not a creator or just wildly successful. And you're probably not going to be wildly successful off the bat. So you might as well become a creator. Marketers will get hired just on the basis of their follower count. So like, don't forget that. And that becomes even more important in an age of AI, because all of the media, most of marketers and like creatives are mediocre to the point that they are not going to survive the AI wave. Right? The 90% or worse writer has already been wiped out. The 80% or worse designer, gone. And they're coming for the audio editors and the video editors and everyone else all the way up the chain, it's going to be 95, 99% or better. And so if you're not either determined to be the best in like a creative field, or you're not willing to put in the work, like find a different field when it comes to marketing.
Mhm.
Because AI is going to eat so much of what we do as marketers. It's going to be one great marketer and 30 AI. And so I look at that and I'm like, oh, it used to be that people had to do targeting on Facebook ads. Now the Facebook AI is better at
Yep.
targeting than the people.
Yep. Yep.
That's, a lot of people don't have jobs anymore as a result of that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is really true that if Facebook is doing the targeting and Canva is doing half of the creative and what have you, it really does mean that you could either then be a good user of those tools and or you have to then figure out how to get the best out of them and really be tops on those tools, even though they're automating so many pieces of it. That is very interesting. I didn't think about the jobs there. Actually, it's funny because I've got a breakfast coming up, and and we're going to have about 10 VPs of marketing. And one of the questions for them is, how is AI going to affect the brand agency relationship? And if the agency was sitting there, being the creator of documents of whatever it was, collateral this and video that and social this and email that, all of a sudden they can generate 10 times more content. And if they're not generating 10 times more better content, then the competition, the competitor agency is going to say, listen, I can do that job there for 1/10 the price.
Yeah.
And
I'll make it
that
real
relation,
simple.
yeah. So in that relationship is going to be clearly affected. So yeah, just curious your thoughts.
If your agency isn't providing you at least a 3-to-1 return that they can track back in digital for you, fire them.
Yeah.
At least 3-to-1.
Yeah, I
Right?
think you're right.
That's just enough for you to maybe be profitable on your spend with them. Is a 3-to-1 return.
Yeah. Yeah.
And realistically, you probably want 5-to-1. Internally, I'm targeting 50 or 100-to-1 because we're going all organic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your agency isn't doing that, slash your budget with them. Give me a call. Give Guy a call, and we'll staff you with a whole team of killer offshore marketers who work for you instead of for an agency and just for you, and are going to 10x your work because they're all super hungry and they all know AI,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll crush your old agency.
And it's not just about creating 10x more copy. It's creating 10x better copy,
Yep.
better, incredibly better copy that is going to get you just that next level of capability that you otherwise can't get. And I'm curious, maybe we ought to talk then after Thursday is when the breakfast is. I'm curious to see what's going on and what are the opinions of these marketers, to see if they're actually putting those goalposts in place that says, listen, you're my agency. I want a 3x improvement over the next 12 months, and it better actually be in 6 months, not in 12.
Yeah, they're
And
not.
it'd be very, very interesting to see what comes out of that.
But you let all of them know that for 5,000 a month, I know because I've done it on a smaller budget. I built a YouTube channel where the YouTube videos rank. They're all professional. We hired a creator who made all the videos. So we scripted them internally, we produced them internally, we publish them to YouTube. They rank, we get subscribers, they get thousands of views on B2B videos.
Mm-hmm.
And how did we do it? With a fully offshore team.
Yeah.
I can do that
Yeah.
on any content format, because you can't tell me that your spend is effective when we could get an MBA or like an equivalent skilled 5-year marketer for 3,000 a month,
Yeah.
4,000 a month.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah.
Like, we can put one person full time on whatever that problem is, and we can find somebody who's passionate about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And has the experience with the tools, and can really enhance that. Mike, I could I could go on forever, but I gotta say, we've got a break here. We're definitely coming back together. I look forward to it, and look forward to
Likewise.
finding out what's happened over the next couple months when we get back together. But thank you so much for participating. Thank you for the keen insight that you have and the experience in translating that into what is going to be valuable for our listenership and our viewers. So thank you so much for that.
Excellent. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And for the viewers out there, definitely go to marketingmachine.prorelevant.com and make sure you sign up for more episodes of this. And if you really like this video, please rank it with 5 stars. Thank you very much.